It's that time of year again for a fleet update, but a fleet update by itself would be boring, so I'm going to add a second thing to it. This is a race box. It's a GPS 0 to 60 timer, quarter mile timer, lap timer, other things. I bought this last year for a thing that ended up not happening, but now I have it. So I'm going to do a 0 to 60 test of everything I have that drives. Polestar, Coda, F-150, Lada, Trabant, Robin. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. And don't you dare skip this ad. You're going to watch me cook. I don't know how to turn this into a skit, so I'm just going to yell at you. HelloFresh is a delivered straight to your door meal kit service. No going to the grocery store, no meal prepping, no trying to figure out how much of what ingredients you need. It's all delivered in a refrigerated box straight to your door. Each meal comes with an easy-to-follow recipe card with instructions even I can understand. This is a strange cooking technique, I will admit. Please don't copy this. This is frankly gross. Each meal kit comes with exactly the ingredients you need, so aside from saving time by not having to go to the grocery store and buy individual ingredients, you're also preventing food waste. I've personally been a HelloFresh subscriber for at least 3 years now, if not 4, and I absolutely love this service. Well, the directions very clearly stated that I should prick these tortillas with a fork, but I ignored that, and now I have tasty balloons. If it weren't for HelloFresh, I frankly just wouldn't cook at all, and that's not good for my health or my bank account. To try HelloFresh for yourself, go to HelloFresh.com and use code AgingWheels60 at checkout to get 60% off your first order plus free shipping. Again, that's HelloFresh.com and use code AgingWheels60 to get 60% off your first order plus free shipping. I'll be honest, I burned these tortillas. It's not HelloFresh's fault. It's mine. Still delicious though. Look, I found a free grill. Sorry, 2022 Polestar 2. And, whoo! 4.2? I am going down an on-ramp, but that is faster than the advertised time and faster than it's supposed to do. 4.2 seconds, 0 to 60. All right, I wasn't happy with that first race box result because I was going downhill and that time was way faster than I was imagining. So I pulled over to a flat spot in the road. We're going to do it again, starting now. Just merging onto the road, no big deal. That was 4.29. Okay, so this car is faster than I thought it was. 4.3 seconds, 0 to 60 time. Look, it's a BMW. I love this car. I've had it 2 months shy of a year, and in that time, I have put 35,500 miles on it. And the best part of that is, I work from home. The performance update that you can buy that unlocks an extra 50 kilowatts, that's 80 horsepower, is now available in the US, so you can bet I'll be buying that pretty soon. And then in 2 months, once I've had this car a year, I'll give a 1-year ownership report, and we'll redo that 0 to 60 test and see how much my time drops, and how much better it feels. There's a car behind me, I think. Yes, there is. My 2012 Coda, the one that actually works. Coda, downhill, 100% charge. Go! Not quite as exciting as the Polestar, that's for sure. And that's 0 to 30, 0 to 60, 8.42 seconds. Honestly, I expected better. I thought it would be closer to 7. But then again, this does have a weak cell in the battery. After the last video I made with this car, a lot of you seem to think that it's inoperable, but in fact is operable. It just has a bad cell group in the battery that is bringing the whole thing down. And my effective range is about 30 miles right now. And this is in fact the furthest point away from my house I'm comfortable going. But it does work. As you can see on the scan tool thing, my average cell voltage is 3.31 volts. My maximum is 3.31 volts, but the minimum cell voltage is 3.29. So there's one cell group in there that's sagging below the rest of them and bringing the whole pack down. My plan for this car is the same as it was. Swap out the whole battery pack for that 36 kilowatt hour pack I pulled out of my other Coda. Make sure that bigger pack is actually good, and then just run with that and do something with the 31 kilowatt hour pack I dropped out of this thing with its one bad cell group. I don't know when I'm going to get to that because I currently have a large Ford Escape occupying my lift indefinitely, but when that's gone, then I can do that. The pickup, my 2006 Ford F-150, my first car. All right, will the pickup beat the Coda's time of 8.4 seconds? To give every fighting chance, I'm going to wait for this Prius to pass. I'm going to brake boost it. Oh, that is so sluggish. And 8.2. Actually 8.3, 8.29. It did beat the Coda, barely. This thing needs a lot of attention. Around the engine, it has an exhaust leak. It has, I believe, leaky valve seals. It burns oil when I start it up, so that leads me to believe leaky valve seals. And it needs new spark plugs, which may not sound like a lot, but on this engine, the access to the spark plugs is basically non-existent, and they have a reputation for breaking off in the cylinder head. I've got all the parts for that stuff except for the valve seals, but I don't want to do any of that because the access around this engine is, like I said, awful. September of last year, I bought a bunch of parts for the outside of it, like new headlights, new cowl up there to replace the one that's broken, new mirrors for both sides. I know this looks fine, and the other side is even more broken than this one. A new third brake light cover and a bunch of other little stuff like that. But I haven't done any of that because, well, I'm a bad procrastinator. I guess I'm a good procrastinator, but a bad worker. I'm not very productive. And to top it all off, it's starting to rust. Cab corners included in that. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but it went straight through right up here. I'm getting to the point I kind of don't know what to do with this pickup anymore. It's not worth much financially. It's got a lot of sentimental value. The engine is notoriously unreliable, and the transmission has started slipping. I flushed it last year, and now it slips less, but it does still slip. The only thing I use this pickup for is towing and hauling, and it's getting to the point where I can't really trust it to be reliable for those tasks. It hasn't let me down yet, but there's a first time for everything. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about this yet. Regardless of what I do with this thing, I got to fix what's wrong with it. I already bought a bunch of parts. I might as well use them, even if I don't want to. The Lada 1991 Lada 2107 with a 1.5 and a 4-speed. All right, this is the main event. I know this is what you're really here for. You don't want to see how fast a new electric car is. You want to see how fast an old Russian car isn't. So let's find out as soon as the traffic passes. I'm only going to do this once. I don't want to beat on this car too much. Terrible launch. Okay. Rev out, little engine. 11.4. I could probably do a little bit better than that, but again, I don't want to beat on this car too much. And I still need a 5th gear. I just made the video about this thing a month ago, so nothing to update. Uh-oh! That's water. She sprung a leak! She sprung a leak when I got home. It's gas. You can tell by all the gas. The Robin! This is the first time all year it'll be driven, which means it's time for an oil change, and that led me down to a small path of discovery. I had to look up the oil capacity of the engine again because, of course, I'm not going to remember that, and it's measured in pints because British, 5.5 pints. Now, I know in my head that there are 2 pints in a quart, but instead of just doing that in my head, shut up, turkey, I Googled it, and Google spit back at me that 5.5 pints is 3.3 quarts. Turns out, UK pints and US pints are not the same size. So I'm glad I Googled it. There we go, out with the old. I went out and bought a special filter wrench for this, but I just found out that I can remove it by hand. So let's see if I can even get it out of here. Yeah, I can. The oil I'm putting in here is a 20W50 with high zinc for older engines. The funny thing is that it's branded racing oil, and that is most assuredly not what this engine is going to be doing. The race box has this little GPS antenna that's magnetic, so you can stick it to the roof, but this is fiberglass. So I'm going to stick it to this little bolt on the sunroof and hope it holds. I don't know what I'm going to do in the Trabant. This is the first time I've driven this on the new leaf springs that I installed last fall, and it is significantly bouncier than it was before. But granted, the old leaf springs were completely collapsed, so that is to be expected. These are going to have to be worn in quite a bit, I imagine, as well. It rides like an actual truck now. All right, 0 to 60 in the Reliant Robin. My guess is 25 seconds. That was awful. Yeah, well, I'm going to start over. That was terrible. All right. Let's try to slip the clutch this time. I'm only going to do this once. Still terrible. Really bad. Sorry, Robin. Oh, man. 60 yet. 18.68. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Still really terrible though. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. This is by a very large margin the loudest car I have. This is far louder than a Trabant. This rides like garbage now. It's really stiff. Not that it was a Rolls-Royce beforehand, but it was better. But I guess the suspension isn't collapsed now, so that's a bonus. The good news is there appear to be no other new issues. So that's nice, and it started right up after 6 months of nothing. I didn't even tend the battery. In the past, I mentioned I wanted to drop the engine out of this car to degrease it, replace all the leaky seals, of which there are many, replace all the hoses, and just give it a general tidy up. But one of my commenters mentioned that rather than drop the engine out of the frame, it's easier to lift the body off of the frame to get access to the engine for all of those things. Having a look underneath the car, they were right. However, all of the fasteners that hold the body to the frame are solid rust, so that looks like a not fun job. Meaning I probably will do nothing to the Robin this year unless it breaks in some way. The problem of where do I mount the magnetic racebox antenna on the Trabant was actually pretty easy to solve. Right here. This panel is steel, as is this one. None of the rest of them are though. Now I know what you're thinking. Can the Trabant even make it to 60? And the answer is yes. That's just about its top speed. So, doing a 0 to 60 run is not stressful for the Trabant because that's how you have to drive it normally. Let's do this. Nope, cars. Probably scared the crap out of them. Didn't even register on my thing. All right. Now let's go. Yeah, that's going to cause some speed loss. Not that it matters. Wow, that's the slowest 0 to 30 time I've seen yet. 6 seconds to 30. There's 50. There's fourth gear. Still not to 60 yet. 59, come on. Come on, there we go, 31.2 seconds. 31.2 seconds, and we're still climbing. We're at 61 miles an hour now. It just died. Why did it die? Come on. Why did it die? Come on. You've got fuel. Why did it die? The Trabant has died on me. This is legitimately the first time this has ever happened. Nothing. I have no power. There's no electricals. Suddenly cut out. Oh boy. This is... Well, I don't want this to happen here. Well, that was an easy problem to figure out. I took the cover off the ignition. See that blue wire? That's supposed to be connected to something right there. The tiny little nut that connects it down has vibrated itself off. Oh, it is. It's on the highway down here. It's right there. Okay. I don't have pliers or anything on me to reattach this. So, give me a second. Roadside repair done. I just barely twisted that nut back on there. I need to get some pliers to, or ideally a wrench, to get it on there. But let's see if it starts. I don't know why it wouldn't, but let's see if it starts. Yep. All right. Time to go! See, like I said, the 0 to 60 thing, that's how you have to drive this car normally. The Trabant is apparently not happy with me today. It did a 0 to 60 in a very not respectable 31.2 seconds. And then the wire fell off the ignition plate, killed it. I had to do a roadside repair. And then after that, I was sitting at a stoplight and the brake pedal went to the floor. Not all of a sudden, it very slowly went to the floor, so slowly that I wasn't even sure that's what happened. So then I retested it and pumped it up. It went to the floor. So it's getting dark. I'm gonna go home now before I get stuck in the dark on the highway in a Trabant with no brakes, because that sounds not fun. Well, that was a mildly eventful drive. I made it back home, as you can see, and the brakes work just fine. It's just after holding the pedal for a while, it starts to fade to the floor. Not sure what that's about. I'll probably go through at some point this year and replace all of the wheel cylinders and the shoes and maybe the hoses, the flexible hoses, inspect all the hard lines and see if any of them are showing signs of weakness or leakage, which they very well might be. Now this isn't licensed, so you don't get a 0 to 60 test, but we can at least see if it still runs, which I know it does, but I don't know if the battery is. It is dead. The battery is very dead. It's weird. It's almost like I never charge the battery and don't tend to it whatsoever. I still have a plan for this thing, but like everything else, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. Maybe this year, maybe not. I don't know. Now for the non-functional part of my fleet, which I'm proud to say is now the minority. Barely. I've got 5 non-functional and 7 functional vehicles. Unless you count the Explorer as non-functional because it's not licensed for the road, in which case it's split 50-50. But I'm going to call it a win. Anyway, 2 Kodas. They're just parts cars. They will always be parts cars. I'm not going to do anything with them other than take parts off of them. The Wego, I still plan to revive it. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it. Definitely not sure when I'm going to do it. This is the 36 kilowatt hour pack I plan to put in my working Koda. Sitting here taking up all of the space, and the Wego pack is just behind it, taking up even more space. Yes, I still have the bus. No, I'm not going to work on it until the Escape's done. I've got a looming deadline with the Escape in July or whatever. I need to focus on that, and then when that's done, then I can start digging into the bus again. Anything I want to do with the bus, any small little section takes a month, so I got to focus on the Escape for now. I know you're tired of excuses for the bus, but I don't care. It's my project. Which brings me to the Escape. Thank you all for buying those engraved plaques. I've now bought the remainder of the batteries. I already had 6 modules. I bought the remaining 18 to complete the battery pack in this thing. And they'll be here in, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or something. They have to custom order hazmat crates to ship these batteries in. Once they get those, then they can send them to me, and I'll have the batteries. This little setup over here, you may have seen it in the background of 1 or 2 videos in the past. This is my bench test setup for wiring up all the components that are going to go in the Escape. Here's the 6 modules that I already have wired in series for the full pack voltage of 355 volts. They're split in the middle right now, so there's no safety hazard. This is the part that scares me the most about the Escape, because with things like mounting the motors, mounting the battery packs, physically configuring everything, I can visualize that in my head and plan out pretty far into the future what I'm going to do. But with wiring, there's so much that I don't know, I can't plan ahead for it. It's an unknown, so it's scary to me. What else? Oh yeah, I still have the birds. I caught the turkeys dancing earlier. I think that's what they were doing.